3 p.m. We're going to start. This is where we do most of our presentations and awards. Any items that we vote on at our 6:30 meeting. So you are all very welcome to stay, but please know that there is no opportunity to speak at this meeting. This is just a presentation. Okay, with that, Mauricio, please go ahead.
Okay, so the first item on the agenda is item 2A, the Police Officer of the Year, an introduction to the first female motor officer by the Chief of Police.
Mayor, just as the chief walks up, what we would ask is that we're going to do our Police Officer of the Year and our other awards one after another. And then when we're done, we're going to ask that you all come down so we can take a group photo of everybody.
One picture?
Yes.
Perfect.
Please.
Thank you.
Chief.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners, City Manager, esteemed colleagues, and honored guests. I'd like to first call up our 2023 Officer of the Year, Maximo Fanjul. So every one of our officers are deserving. So I'd like to thank everyone that works for the police department, both sworn and civilian, for all their hard work that they do year-round. So today, we gather to celebrate a remarkable individual whose dedication and valor have set a shining example for us all. It is with great pride and admiration that we honor Officer Maximo Fanjul as our Officer of the Year. Throughout the past year, Max has demonstrated unwavering courage and quick thinking, embodying the true essence of a hero on multiple occasions. On January 23rd, 2023, faced with a medical emergency, Officer Fanjul displayed remarkable composure and expertise when he encountered a victim in dire straits, suffering from seizures and not breathing. Without hesitation, Officer Fanjul sprang into action, recognizing the gravity of the situation. His swift response and proficient CPR skills proved pivotal in saving the victim's life. It was a testament of his unwavering commitment to preserving life under the most challenging circumstances by administering CPR for over 10 minutes. And I would like to say that I actually responded to that actual incident, and I was very, very impressed because you blew me away with just the amount of effort you did and gave this guy a fighting chance. So, additionally, on June 5th, 2023, Officer Fanjul once again demonstrated his extraordinary skill set. Confronted with another medical crisis, he encountered a victim bleeding profusely from a severed arterial wrist injury. Recognizing the urgency of this situation, Officer Fanjul's training and quick thinking came to the fore. With precise knowledge and swift action, he expertly applied a tourniquet, effectively controlling the bleeding and stabilizing the victim until further medical assistance arrived. Because of his quick and timely actions, Miami-Dade Fire Rescue praised Officer Fanjul for saving the victim's life on this day. Officer Fanjul's bravery, resourcefulness, and unwavering dedication to protecting and serving our community have shone brightly through these incidents. His ability to remain calm under pressure and his exceptional skill set in emergency situations have undoubtedly saved lives. Today, as we bestow upon Officer Maximo Fanjul the title of Officer of the Year, let us not only celebrate his individual accomplishments, but also recognize the spirit of selflessness and service that defines our law enforcement community. Officer Fanjul's actions serve as an inspiration to us all, reminding us of the profound impact that dedication and courage can have in making our community a safer and better place for everyone. Please join me in applauding Officer Maximo Fanjul for his exemplary service, selflessness, and unwavering commitment to duty. Officer Fanjul, your bravery and compassion are a beacon of hope, and we are immensely proud to have you among us. Congratulations on this well-deserved honor.
Thank you, Chief.
Okay, lastly, I'd like to call up Motor Officer Roxana Martinez.
Yeah.
Today, we gather here to celebrate a historic moment in the history of our police department. It is with great pride and admiration that we recognize the outstanding achievement of Officer Roxana Martinez, who has become the first female motor officer in our esteemed force. Breaking barriers and shattering stereotypes, Officer Martinez has displayed unparalleled dedication, skill, and determination in reaching this milestone. Her journey serves as an inspiration to all, proving that gender should never be a limitation in pursuing one's passion and contributing to the safety and well-being of our community. Becoming a motor officer requires exceptional expertise and precision, and Officer Martinez has demonstrated these qualities with grace and resilience. Her commitment to the principles of duty, honor, and service reflects the highest ideals of law enforcement. As we applaud Officer Martinez for her historic accomplishment, let us also take this moment to reaffirm our commitment to fostering an inclusive and diverse police force. By embracing and celebrating the achievements of individuals like Officer Martinez, we strengthen the fabric of our community and create a more just and equitable society. Congratulations, Officer Martinez. Your achievement will undoubtedly inspire future generations of law enforcement officers, reminding us all that the pursuit of excellence knows no gender.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. Mayor, our Employee of the Year award, we're going to ask to be moved to February because our employee is busy working at this time.
Okay.
And it's a well-kept secret, so we can't reveal to you who that is. But we do have the City Manager Award. And the chief always has these eloquent speeches. I should have prepared something, but I prefer to just kind of share with you the importance of this award. For me, we established this award a couple of years ago when I first started, and I wanted to recognize not only the good work that our employees do, but someone that really stands out to the residents, as well as my office, to recognize truly outstanding and exceptional customer service. But these are some of the words that are used to describe the person that I'm going to bring to you today. Profound professionalism, exceptional initiative, and unquestionable devotion to public service. And I think when we look at these awards, working in my office should not be mutually exclusive. This person has elevated service delivery through increased customer service and built several key relationships for the city as well as my office. They serve with integrity, and this year, for the 2023 City Manager Award goes to Myra Elliman. Myra. Normally, Myra gives me all this stuff, so I'm looking for her award, and I don't know where it is.
Thank you, Myra.
Thank you. Okay, our next item is the proclamation for Tree City, USA, and today we celebrated Arbor Day, so it's very apropos.
This is from Myra.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Commissioners. This proclamation recognizes January 19th as Florida Arbor Day in the city of Sunny Isles Beach. This is yet another way for our city to demonstrate its dedication to our trees' health and well-being. For the 5th consecutive year, we have been designated as a Tree City USA for 2023. Thank you for your continued support, and thank you to our Parks Division and Public Works Department for keeping our trees beautiful and healthy all year.
Thank you.
At this time, we can take a picture with the proclamation. Last picture, I promise. Thank you.
There it is. Commissioner Lama missed all the pictures. Vice Mayor, rather. Okay. Next item is a presentation. I neglected to acknowledge from Commissioner Mickey Steinberg's office, we have Alexis in the back. Thank you, Alexis, for being here. And for those of you that are here for this presentation, to hear this presentation, there's going to be, do we have these in the back by any chance? The flyers that we can hand out? No? Okay. We don't have them in the lobby? If we can get some, yeah. So Tuesday, January 30th at Gateway from 10:30 to 1 is where there's going to be the informational session where you will be able to interact and give input. And we'll have some in the lobby in just a few minutes. So please go ahead.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners. My name is Eric Zahn. I'm the Manager of Service Planning at Department of Transportation and Public Works, and I have a brief presentation just to get everyone up to speed on what the Better Bus is if you haven't heard about it recently or previously, trying to get you up to speed and some of the things we're going to be doing moving forward with our next lineup. We have some significant service changes coming up. We know that the first round we didn't get everything right, so we're coming back to look at the data a little bit closer and trying to make things work a little bit more smoothly. So with that, I'll get into my presentation. So what is the Better Bus? Like I said, if you haven't heard of it, it is the most significant redesign in Miami-Dade transit history over the past 40 years. So a lot has changed since 1986, which was the last, it was called Network 86. That was when the rail was introduced to Miami-Dade County. And since then, almost 40 years, nothing has really occurred on a significant scale. So this new network is the biggest change over the past 40 years. So taking us all back in time here over the past 5 years, this has been going on. It was launched by a grassroots effort back in 2018 with support from the County Mayor's Office, from a local advocacy group called Transit Alliance. Through 2019, there was a historic public engagement that occurred, 130 plus events, 5,000 engagements, 7,000 surveys, 1,700 rider texts. 2020, not too much occurred due to COVID. 2021, fast forward to, we have a countywide engagement called 5305. Across the board support for the more service where people want and need to go. So this included the action plan to move forward with the implementation of the new network, unanimous BCC approval towards the end of 21. doing a lot of more analysis and scheduling work during 22, trying to figure out the best way to move forward. We are dealing continuously with operator shortages and vehicle shortages just due to the fact coming out of the pandemic. Additional BCC approval, 23. We did a phase 1 soft launch, which included about 4 corridors. And then the phase 2 launch was launched on November 13th of this past year. So what are some of the key features of the Better Bus? More simple and more direct routes. You can see on the left there, that kind of resembles what our system used to be. A lot of routes that took a lot of turns, meandering around. The new service has been straightened out a lot to provide faster journeys for our passengers, and also more frequent service throughout the entire day. So we used to have only 5 frequent lines that ran 15-minute or better service throughout the entire county. That has now increased to 19 total lines. Number 3, better transfers. So before we had a lot of infrequent service, buses coming once an hour, maybe 30 minutes, not good for transfers. So now we have more services that run more frequently, reducing the wait times to transfer from route to route, and then also more consistent service throughout the weekdays, and as I mentioned, all throughout the entire day. So instead of having a more peak-driven service only, we're having an entire network of 19 routes that are running 15-minute or better throughout the entire day. So some of the key changes, and these are specific to Sunny Isles. So the Route H was renumbered to the Route 75. There were some realigned routes on the Route 100. The Route 100 is actually a combination of what the Route S and the 120 used to be. The schedule changes, there were some schedule changes made on the Route 75 to increase service. And there were some discontinued routes in the system, as I mentioned, and one of those affecting Sunny Isles is the Route E.
And S as well.
The S is the 100 now.
Yes, but it's not actually the same, correct?
Let's let him finish his presentation. Go ahead.
Yeah. So what have the riders seen since the new network? So riders or residents near frequent service has increased from 380,000 to over 840,000. Jobs accessible within 45 minutes on Saturdays from 34 to 45. And households without cars near the frequent service, that's 20,000 to 60% of the entire total. So some of the riders, as mentioned here, the Route E, there have been some impacts, and with some discontinuation of particular routes and services that serve more of a niche rider, there are some additional transfers that have been introduced to the system. There are going to be some longer journeys to the bus stops. So you have a route that they used to serve a stop right in front of where you live or where you work. Now you may have to walk a few extra blocks up to a quarter of a mile to get to a new stop. And also replacing the county fixed route service. So as I mentioned, there has been some discontinuation, and this is an opportunity for collaboration. So we have other services that we've introduced called Metro Connect, which is essentially an on-demand service similar to an Uber. We also are looking to collaborate with our partners to realign services with the trolleys, the local municipal routes. There are also freebies that a lot of municipalities are working. We're trying to get the word out for the residents. And then also with Uber, this is a new collaboration that we've worked on with our partners at Uber to establish the Uber voucher program. So these are the Uber vouchers that you can actually access if you're along an old line that's been discontinued. And I'll have a slide later on that. So how did the county prepare to launch? We went out to the public. We did a lot of engagement, community engagement. We had BBN ambassadors at key locations throughout the county. And then also down to the stop level. So we put these rider notices at each one of the stops that whether they're going to be affected or not, every stop in the entire county got one of these notices to make sure that we provide enough information for folks that are going to be potentially impacted. So how does this affect Sunny Isles? With the new service launched on November 13th, as I mentioned, the S and 120, they've been combined into the new Route 100. The Route 100 service was streamlined to and from the Lehman Causeway. So I know the Route S did go up to 192nd, as well as Route E. The Route 100 does not serve that stop currently anymore. And as I mentioned, the Route E was discontinued. So some replacement routes for that include the Route 100 and the Route 75. So we've done some immediate changes to try to deal with some of these impacts to the residents. As I mentioned, Uber vouchers. And we're actually looking to add an additional stop on Collins and 189th Street to get a little bit closer to the 192nd Street stop that was eliminated. Excuse me. On April 29th, we do have some really good improvements. So the Route 100, today it's currently running every 15 minutes. With the April 29th lineup, we're gonna have 6 buses an hour. So a bus every 10 minutes coming through the city of Sunny Isles. Also adjusting schedules for better on-time performance. We've heard a lot of feedback. The route's running behind schedule, it's not coming on time. So between increasing the frequency and addressing on time running times, we call that building our schedules more accurately. This should really significantly improve the service. And also the Route 75, improve the schedules for better on-time performance as well. And continue the collaboration with the info sessions that have been held in the city back on November 9th, and we have a future one as mentioned on the 30th of January. And we have held a workshop with city staff, not only Sunny Isles, but Aventura, North Miami, North Miami Beach, to try to better collaborate and better integrate the municipal services. And we do have a follow-up with them the day after that info session on the 31st. A little bit on the Uber voucher program. I know this is of interest. So there is you have to sign up for it. A link on the program website, which is down there at the bottom. I can send a link and I can provide this presentation. I'm sure you already have it, but if anybody needs that link, it's actually just on the county DTPW website.
I don't think we don't have this up right now. Do we have this up?
We do have the information about the voucher program, and Leah also sent out a social media post or an email blast, right? Yes.
Okay.
So just a few of the highlights. This is an Uber voucher that for each trip you have up to a $25 reimbursement. It's operating 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. So where does it serve? It's a buffer of about 500 feet on either side of where the old route used to operate. So you can't just, if a route wasn't serving right in front of your house, you can't Uber from there, or else potentially you won't be able to use this voucher and you'll have to pay the full fare. So basically you'd have to go to where that old route used to serve, not at a particular stop, just anywhere along the old route, and hail an Uber from that point on the app, or you can call the number on the screen there as well. So specific to Sunny Isles, Route E, this particular Uber voucher program works all the way from the old alignment from Golden Glades to Aventura Mall, serving Eastern Shores, serving 192nd Street. And as I mentioned, it'll take you from Golden Glades, looping through the city of Sunny Isles to Aventura Mall. And there are also other route segments that are included on the old discontinued routes. So those are the 2, 16, 42, 104, and the 135. And that is the program website address. So we continue our ongoing efforts. Please, if you have any comments, feedback, call 311. We have surveys on the website as well that you can fill out. We're about to launch a new one, a new satisfaction survey. So that's going to be launching very shortly. So please visit the DTPW website.
Thank you. So because we have other items on the agenda, and I know that you're going to have a very long presentation on Tuesday. I'm just going to ask the commission if we could just reserve, our questions to just a few, so that we don't go deep into this because the public cannot participate here. But I just have a question regarding the app and the Uber portion of it. As you can see, the folks that are here, that came here to hear your presentation, are probably not as likely to be able to understand how to use the app. And quite frankly, I don't know how to use it for this. So for the purposes of, I think the E is our biggest challenge. Obviously those few stops going north for the 100 as well, but for the E. So just, if you can just walk us through. So let's say I lived at Marion Towers and the E used to stop there. So I walk out, and when I walk out and I stand at that old bus stop, I can call. What do I do? Tell me, just walk us through it.
Yeah, so this is a number on the screen here, the 786-469-5555. You can call that. That will link you.
And what do you say? Like what happens?
Just say that you need to book an Uber voucher ride.
Uber voucher
they'll
ride.
know. And so they'll work with you on that, working through. Unfortunately, I'm not the one that runs that program, but we can have somebody there, representative, at our meeting, our information session. on
Please,
Tuesday.
that's probably the most important part
Mhm.
about all of this, because that's the connection that everybody needs.
Mhm.
And yeah, as very, very, very important.
Now,
We'll
also
make sure
the
that's clearly
possibility of
explained.
having the individual not get stuck for a fare, to have to pay out of pocket.
Mhm.
That's another issue.
Okay, did anyone have any other questions so that we can let him go?
I do have
Go
a few
ahead, go ahead,
questions.
Commissioner.
Okay, so it's $25 daily, monthly, weekly?
That's for each trip. So you can book as many trips, and you will be reimbursed up to $25 for your trip.
Okay.
How are
No-
you
no
reimbursed?
questions. I'm sorry?
You know what? You can't answer that question. All right, we're gonna have to save that for the presentation. Yeah.
So also, what do we need to do to bring back those stops? That'd be my question.
For the route E.
To go inside, like to the Marian Towers?
Into Marian?
Yes.
So we're working. We have a workshop coming up with city staff to try to better align their services with our services with the network redesign. We have been collecting data, and we're looking that on the DTPW side, so whether we're prepared to come to that workshop on the 30th
Okay.
to further discuss. But at this point, we don't have plans to reinstate the Route E at this time. So we do feel that the Uber voucher program, this is a very good program. We've had a lot of very quick response times, under 5 minutes. It's just calling a regular Uber, but you're being reimbursed up to $25. So we would definitely want to get the word out more about that. So that will help out a lot of folks.
And you guys have the recommendation of using a freebie. So I would like to reconsider to give to bring a service like freebie of any other rideshare free to the city. We had in the budget before. I brought that item. People with low and slow mobility, they need help. We have money in the budget for it. Like you said, you make it more simple, not direct. More simple, more direct is not what is happening right now. It's more simple for you guys. It's not simple for our people. So we need to consider bringing back that stop, because for many of our folks to be walking 2-3, it's very long, for them. So let's do something for our people. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Mhm.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Yes. So also with the voucher problem, I'll call it, is that you're asking people to advance the fee, and these are a lot of people that are cash strapped. So how are they supposed to do that? And then
not
wait
in
for
a-
reimbursement.
Yeah.
I think that's he can't answer the Uber part of it. So
Unfortunately, I can't give that in depth of an answer to the Uber program, but we definitely will have representation from our
please,
Uber
if you
program.
can have that really flushed out
Yes.
for us. Okay, Commissioner Vizcarra, Vice Mayor.
Yes, I had the same concern. Whether you don't have the money, or if you don't have a credit card to attach to an Uber account, then you gotta walk, right? It's not a full solution, and not everybody has, however unlimited, the $25 to be advancing, right? That's one. And number two, also related to the Uber, is that a permanent feature?
It's still yet to be determined the length of the program. We do have a significant amount of funding towards it right now. I'm not sure how fast that funding will last. In particular, this is first of its kind down here. So that still remains to be seen. I don't have a solid answer for that at this point.
So my ask, because I don't think I'll be able to go to that workshop, is that we keep that in mind, because if it's a Band-Aid, then what happens after?
Exactly. And that's why we're trying to work with the City of Sunny Isles Beach staff to see how we can better align both of our services to complement these stops that were served by our old Route E in particular.
You can bring back E.
Vice Mayor.
Yes, I have a few questions. So basically, at the end of the day, this is a beta program, right? So I'm wondering how flexible you are. And I've noticed that for certain other areas in Miami-Dade County, you were able to reestablish, or you're able to keep some of those internal bus stops, because obviously there's a need there. We do have a need here, Marian Towers, obviously because of the demographics of certain of our residents, also around Winston Towers and some other areas. So, my ultimate question would be, if the voucher program doesn't work as well, how flexible are you? willing are you to accept reality and say, okay, you know what, we need to reinstate the E-route or some internal routes?
Mhm.
Yeah.
These are very good questions. And this is something that we're going to be working on and looking closely at and working with the municipality moving forward to see, to better align our services with the municipal services. And if that is, we do reestablish a service, it's determined that that's the best choice, then we can look at that as an option. We are just a few months into this new network, and we are hearing all the comments and the feedback that we've been getting, and we understand the Route E is a hot spot.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, my ultimate comment would be the sooner we could come to a solution and get this, obviously done and see it till the end, the better. So I just would not like to see this prolong itself more than needed. Yeah.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. You had one more question?
Yes, please. So Eric, I would just like to point out to you that the residents that are in the audience tonight, those are ones that were able to make it here because their immobility issues are not like others that would have been here but couldn't make it. So just please, if you would take that into consideration, because you were talking about having to walk a quarter mile, and that is impossible for a lot of our residents.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. And again, I want to also thank Alexis. I hope that you bring this back to Commissioner Steinberg. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Eric.
Okay. All right, next item is mine. It's a discussion regarding Israeli bonds. So as many of you know, not just, but quickly in response to October 7th, we passed a few resolutions in support of Israel, also condemning Hamas, Hezbollah, and other terrorist organizations. So what I wanted to put in front of the commission to consider is something that I've actually talked about before, and that's to allow the finance department and the city manager to consider Israeli bonds in support of Israel, but not just because of that. And because this is somewhat of a technical conversation and this is not my expertise, I've asked some people to please just make a very, very short presentation to give us a sense of what the Israeli bonds are, so that we can make that determination later on this evening. So please come up, Melanie. Come up. And I thank you. We also have a representative from the Israeli consulate. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. I do have some material, if I have a minute to distribute to you, a few.
I'll take it and I'll distribute it.
Thanks. And let me first thank you for your very valuable time today to listen to me. I'm sorry, I'm on the phone a lot, so my voice is... my name is Melanie Weinstein. I'm the Assistant Director of Israel Bonds, State of Israel Bonds in this community. Israel Bonds are a direct investment in the State of Israel. They were founded in 1951 as a way to resettle immigrants and build infrastructure in the newly formed modern-day State of Israel. We've been selling to institutions, states, counties, and municipalities for years. In 2006, I believe it was, then Governor Bush rewrote the state legislative finance investment policies to include State of Israel bonds as an approved investment. State of Israel bonds are fixed income. They are your bonds. You get a coupon rate of return. We sell bonds in terms from 2 to 15 years. Within the last 3 months since the war, we've sold to many new municipalities that we hadn't sold to before. And we've seen a tremendous amount of increased investment from other counties and municipalities. You may have seen some recent press. Palm Beach County bought a considerable amount, over $150 million. I just completed a purchase with City of Miami Beach. Mayor Gelber, on his way out, confirmed a doubling of the city's investment portfolio in bonds. Israel maintains a perfect record of repayment of principal and interest since inception, even in the worst times, which sadly is now. During Six-Day War, during Yom Kippur War, Israel's never defaulted. She's not called. She's repaying right now in full and on time. November 1st, interest payments drop. Everybody got their money, I know, because they called me and they want to repurchase bonds with those interest payments. Maturities are being paid. Israel bonds typically go for infrastructure. Bond purchase money, dollars are directed to the general treasury to be spent. That's the government's needs. We believe right now we probably are filling gaps as money gets restructured to fill other needs that Israel's facing in a crisis currently. For some of us, it's a little personal. We have family, friends, people who live there. I have a kid brother that served. He lives there. I was doing this job before he moved, so it's a little different for some of us. But we're really proud. We delivered an extra $1 billion in the first month of the war nationwide through many, many states and municipalities, over 15 new ones. There's some marketing material included in the kit. I'm available to answer any questions. We are doing all we can to create exposure and awareness of the investment in Israel anywhere I can. Commissioners in Broward are assisting me with some work north of the lake. I'm going to Gilchrist County. I'm going to Levy County. I'm going anywhere I can go, and I want to offer this opportunity. And Israel investment is good. It's been safe for all these years. We don't have any reason to think it wouldn't be. And it fits into anybody's investment portfolio. A lot of your city neighbors that you aren't even aware of are investing actually right now. And we work sort of for the finance ministry. I'm consul general, works for the foreign ministry. We're partners in this effort on behalf of Israel, and we're very grateful for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I just want to clarify, we do not make the decisions as to what is purchased. We just help to give direction to the city manager in order to review this. But with that, if you don't mind, could you just give a range of the percentage of the rate of the return that you are currently selling or that municipalities are buying?
People are but usually 2, 3, 5. We had a run since October. At the end of the year, our rates were over 5%. Israel does price her bonds based on the movement of U.S. treasuries. We are not compared. We're not the same instruments, but if you want to know, watch the treasury market. Israel will price her instruments with about a 35 basis point spread, basically 35 cents above on our rate. We were selling bonds at over like 5.4 just a couple months ago. Right now, we're straddling just about 5% based on the term. It's hard to quote. I mean, there's rates in there, and
No,
I
I
have one.
understand.
You chose 3 years, depending on which term. Obviously, the longer you want to invest, a little bit higher the rate will be offered. I had a graph. I was going to chart this out, but because they're fixed income and their coupon, it doesn't really move, and they're sold at par and they're redeemable at par.
Right. No, I just wanted her to put it on the record. Okay. Are there any questions from the commission? No? Okay.
Call me anytime. I'll answer anything you want to know.
I know you will. Thank
Thank
you.
you so
And
much, Mayor.
I know
Thank
you just
you.
wanted to say something.
I will just add a few words. Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, thank you. We just heard the story of the bravery of the officer and the female officer who became the first one to ride on a motorcycle. So I couldn't not think about my brothers and sisters, the fellow soldiers that are fighting right now against Hamas and other terrorists in Israel. We are definitely sharing the same values. And even if we share those same values, it's not taken for granted what you are trying to do, what you're considering about Israeli bonds and all the other initiatives. So this is a great opportunity for me to say thank you. To say thank you, to other municipalities in South Florida, to the administration, of course. And that's it. I don't have anything to add. I just wanted to say thank you for considering that. And let's continue with sharing our values. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Thank
We
you.
appreciate you being here.
Okay. Next item.
Next item is 3B, a discussion regarding the comprehensive plan and code discrepancies.
Hi.
Hi.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Commissioners. This discussion item is regarding the city's comprehensive plan and the land development regulations because as of today, we are kicking off a project to fix the inconsistencies between these two regulating documents. The goal here is to create a predictable plan and a procedurally sound process for the future. In 2022, the Commission directed the city manager to proceed with an in-depth review into the current state of the comprehensive plan and the land development regulations, or what we commonly call the zoning code. This is because previous development approvals had raised concerns that regulations had not been applied as originally envisioned, and that there may have been allowances outside of the intended code provisions. What was revealed in our analysis of the comp plan and the zoning code is that they are not aligned. And this has resulted in uncertainty about the city's future because the misaligned regulations leads to various conflicting interpretations. You're going to hear me and the consultants say the word predictable a lot during this discussion because what has resulted from the inconsistent regulations is uncertainty, and that's what we are looking to remedy. However, the remedy is not a task that can be completed overnight. What the city needs is a development plan that provides clarity to the residents, to the elected officials, to staff, and to the development community. This project requires a systematic process that must be followed to ensure a meaningful, lasting, and successful end result. Okay. So to guide us through this process, the city will be assisted by 2 project consultants, Jeff Kittims and Caitlin Forbes. They lead their own consulting firm called the Complete Cities Planning Group. This is a sub-consultant of Trans Systems, who we have a contract with for general planning services. The reason that we selected Jeff and Caitlin is because they have a combined experience of 40 years of local planning. The vast majority of that experience has been in assisting cities in the Tri-County, South Florida area. Just to name a few, they have worked with the city of Aventura, North Miami Beach, Pompano Beach, Dania Beach, Wilton Manors, Miami Shores, Fort Lauderdale, Hollandale Beach, and more. And they've specifically helped those cities with their comprehensive plans. They have worked with these cities and more on overhauls of their land development regulations as well. Jeff and Caitlin have master's degrees. They are certified with the American Institute of Certified Planners and are accredited with the Congress for New Urbanism, which is an organization that focuses on creating walkable and vibrant cities. So with that, I'm going to turn the presentation over to Jeff and Caitlin to walk us through the project scope and timeline.
Thank you.
Perfect. Good evening, Mayor, members of the Commission. My name is Caitlin Forbes, and on behalf of the Complete Cities Planning Group, we are very excited to be here with you today for this very important project. As you know, we are in a position as a city where the city must take action in the form of amending its comprehensive plan and land development regulations. So as an extension of staff, we've been working closely with the city to understand the current conditions and need, and we propose a 2-phase project process. Both will run concurrently and take approximately 1 year in total to complete. So as that extension of staff, we're here to guide the process and provide our technical expertise, but final direction will come from this commission and importantly, its residents. It is very important to us that this plan is embraced, that it comes from the grassroots of the community, and that it reflects the city's current goals and vision. So the first phase of this project is what we call a cleanup phase. And it largely addresses conditions east of Collins Avenue, but it also does look at general issues in the code and comp plan citywide. The second phase, you'll see we've been calling the visioning phase, and that largely addresses Town Center North and the West Side business districts. The goal of this phase is to create consensus on future redevelopment of these areas and establish, and this is very important, to establish the development maximums that are currently missing. And Jeff's going to talk about the process shortly after. Importantly, you'll see also the public outreach is going to be an enduring part of the process. It will start with phase 1, month 1, and it will run throughout the lifetime of the project. So to give you a little preview of what we'll be discussing today, we'll be starting by reviewing how we regulate development in the state of Florida, how the state tells us that we need to regulate it rather, the project history, the proposed project process and timeline, as well as the goals and the final results. So we'll start by getting into a refresher on those state requirements when it comes to the scope of work. We have 2 primary documents that we're working with, the comprehensive plan and the land development regulations. And the comprehensive plan can be thought of as more of an overarching guidance document with broad brush goals, objectives, and policies that are refined through more specific language in the land development regulations. Importantly, in a place of conflict between the two, the comprehensive plan would prevail. Comprehensive planning, as you may be familiar, is regulated through Chapter 163 of Florida state statutes, and that outlines all of the components that a comprehensive plan has to have in it. It tells us how plans can be amended, among other things. A critical component of those regulations is that there must be established development maximums for residential and non-residential development in the city. And you can choose to regulate the residential and non-residential in a variety of ways. Sunny Isles Beach has chosen to regulate residential development in a traditional manner using density maximums, and you do regulate your non-residential development using floor area ratio, or FAR, and we'll be talking about that in a couple slides as well. So this slide shows those two adopted maps. The future land use map from the comprehensive plan is on the left, and the zoning map from the land development regulations is on the right. You're probably familiar with seeing these maps in different iterations as you have gone through this process. So let's take a look at how we got to where we are today. Starting with the original plan did not include the necessary language that we just discussed to establish those maximum development allowances in each and every land use category. Some are missing this very strategic regulation. And this was further complicated by the bonus allowance structure. It became unclear how bonuses were considered in relation to categories that did have maximums, and so it somewhat snowballed from there. Of note, for the phase 2 process of this project, the town center overlay was separated into a north and south component on your land use map. However, the plan only establishes regulations for the south, and that means that development to the north, if someone were to submit a development application today, it would be subject to the underlying land use designations, somewhat defeating the purpose of all the hard work that went into establishing that overlay. So within the last few years, the city has identified several conflicts, as Amy noted, throughout the code and the comp plan, and had expert planning teams develop a list of recommendations to mitigate those conflicts. And the recommendations included the bullets on the screen here. First, addressing the clear points of conflict before the comp plan and the code, or between the comp plan and the code, rather. Second, to update the plan to include all of the state mandated measurements and add any necessary clarifying definitions. 3, to clarify the bonus structures and TDRs as they relate to maximum development rights. The 4th recommendation is to establish a vision for Town Center North and West Side business districts. And this is to ensure that the maximum development rights and regulations are reflective of the city's current vision and goals, and importantly, to adopt implementing language and regulations so that the developments can be considered under that town center overlay that was created. And all of this concludes with establishing predictable plans for future redevelopment. And as we know, predictable plans are best for everyone involved. It eases tension and creates a much smoother process with all parties involved. So we'll look at the visioning portion of the project here. We talked about that, the phase 2 work. This slide shows the study area on the right and an aerial of the study area to the left. This does include the Town Center North and the West Side business districts as a reminder. Again, it's extremely important that we do establish those required maximums as it relates to the development rights so that the overlay is effective and implementable. As we noted previously, a development application, if it were to come in today, would need to be considered under the underlying districts, which are shown in pink and red in the town center area. I don't know if this has a laser function, but I can point that out if someone has questions on that. And also importantly, those regulations are in conflict with the existing town center zoning regulations. So it just creates a lot of confusion and really, again, negates the purpose of having that overlay, which is important to the city's redevelopment. So we've talked about development maximums and we talked about FAR. So before we move on, I want to talk about this concept of floor area ratio, or FAR. So FAR is typically used to regulate the non-residential development as it is in Sunny Isles Beach. And it's important to note that density and FAR are different. They serve different purposes. Density is typically associated with the residential portion, as we said, while FAR can certainly be used to regulate residential development. It would be supplemental to a density maximum. And there's an overarching acceptance of the concept that you can't necessarily see density. So when we're trying to regulate the overall form, the scale, the mass of a building, what it looks like visually, FAR is a much better tool to use than density when we're looking at trying to regulate that character of a building. So with that in mind, when we discuss FAR in Sunny Isles Beach, we're going to be generally talking about the non-residential portion of a project. So what is FAR? It's all about the ratio of a building's total area to the area of the site that it's located on. So the same FAR allowance could look different on the same site, depending on how a developer chooses to lay out that site. So usually it's expressed in numbers like a 1.0, a 2.0 FAR or similar. And generally the concept is that to maintain the same FAR, the taller you go, the smaller your building base has to be. And you can see that concept played out in the graphic here on the left of the screen. On the bottom, you see a 2.0 FAR, and it's expressed in a 2-story building that covers the entirety of the site, or an 8-story building that covers just a quarter of the site. And a couple points specific to Sunny Isles: parking garages do not contribute to the maximum FAR, and this means that a building could potentially be taller, and with the exception of any sort of height allowance than you were originally contemplating, because those areas are excluded from the FAR allowance. Town Center North is currently missing those FAR and density maximums, and that is something that we intend to establish through the visioning and the amendment process. So speaking of the process, Jeff is going to take us forward and talk to us about how we move forward.
Thanks, Caitlin. Again, I'm Jeff Kadams, the other half of this team. The process for tackling these issues, and these are existential kind of issues for a city, not having development maximums, having conflicts between the two documents that regulate land use and development, and not having an established vision for the town center area, which is an important part of the city's ultimate build out. These are things that have to be tackled in the right way. We know how to do that because we've done this before in other communities, and tackling it the right way is absolutely critical to getting a successful outcome, which is the predictability and everybody on the same page, and eliminating all the conflicts, etc. We propose approximately.
If I can just interrupt you for a moment.
Yes.
Ladies, hi. We could hear your conversation up here, so it's kind of hard to hear him, if you don't mind. Thank you.
Okay. We've proposed approximately 11 months for the timeline. This timeline is necessary. It's necessary both because public outreach does take some time to do it right. We plan on coming before this body several times with updates and seeking incremental direction from this body. And we have statutory requirements that have to be met when it comes to the code, but also especially amending the comprehensive plan. There's a third phase, which is shown here as the land development regulations. It's not part of the scope that's presented for tonight's consideration. It would be a follow-up to this immediate scope. The first phase is what we call the cleanup phase. It's primarily addressing the confusing language in the comprehensive plan that governs development east of Collins. We call this a clarification because the comprehensive plan has been interpreted in a consistent manner. That manner has been consistent with the way the land development regulations read, and it's an established development pattern that exists east of Collins. So we're going to clarify that, and at the same time, we're going to do a cleanup of the future land use element. The future land use element is the portion of your comprehensive plan that has all the land use policies, and it's essentially the narrative and the standards that support the future land use map. As the consultant's report that Caitlin referenced had noted, there are a lot of undefined terms that have significance in terms of regulation. And when they're undefined, that is not a predictable outcome. It requires interpretation. So we're going to accomplish all that as part of the phase one. The other part of phase one is providing the city with concurrency regulations and a concurrency management system. Concurrency is a statutory requirement that all local governments ensure that adequate facilities in terms of parks, recreation, transportation, water, sanitary sewer, et cetera, that they are sufficient and available to serve any new development that's proposed. So as part of the site plan process, in some cases, platting or permitting, a concurrency analysis has to be done. The city does have provisions in its comprehensive plan that provide general guidance, but the statutes require you to have more detailed regulations in your land development code. So we will prepare that for the city during this phase one, and we will create a concurrency management tracking system that the staff can use to know what available capacities there are when each development comes in, and how to assess the impacts of each development. Phase two is the visioning phase. It's going to start immediately with us working with your excellent marketing team to get the word out that this project is ongoing, to advise people what it is and how to get involved, and really what our goal is. We're going to do this through flyers, through the city. We're going to have a dedicated website linked to your homepage, your city's homepage, and use other methods of getting the word out, including direct contact with HOA boards and that type of thing. We're going to start with a public survey. The public survey will be available in electronic form through the website, as well as hard copies that will be distributed to homeowners associations, possibly businesses, and some of the city's events, some of the more well-attended events. We will present the findings of those of the survey results to a focus group. The focus group is going to be comprised of a cross-section of the community biased towards residents that will help guide us in developing that vision. We will take the actual survey results to them. We'll consider those, evaluate the issues, develop alternatives, and ultimately choose which ones are going to be recommended to this body. Following that, we will make the presentation to you as to the outcome of this process. This would be approximately month 6. And based on your direction, we would then further develop it and articulate it in a vision document. And the vision document is essentially a more graphic and informal version of what the land development regulations would ultimately look like. So rather than first reacting to a very technical ordinance, you would be evaluating and approving something that's more graphic rich, that's more relatable, and that will guide the development of the land development regulations ultimately, and the updates to the comp plan to implement the vision. The project goals, even though we've broken them out into specifics here, are really fix what we know is broken, and we know how to fix it. Those are the things, that's east of Collins, the missing definitions, the missing concurrency management system and ordinance. Getting the community on the same page with the development of town center and the business districts that line the west side of Collins. And then implementing it all with comp plan updates, the vision document, ultimately amendments to the land development regulations. And the end result is that you would have a comprehensive plan that establishes all the necessary and appropriate maximum intensities, has defined terms, what's clear and precise in terms of what is allowed and what is expected. You'll have land development regulations that do not conflict with the comprehensive plan, that implement it, and that both of those will reflect the vision that is articulated in that vision plan through that visioning process. That concludes our presentation. We're happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Commissioner Viscar, did you have any questions? Vice Mayor?
Yes, I have a question. So you mentioned that parking spaces do not, parking garages or parking structures do not account for FAR or are not included in the FAR. Is that the standard, or is it the standard to include parking structures into the FAR calculation?
Are you asking in regards to our experience with other municipalities?
Correct, yeah.
I've seen it written both ways. It certainly isn't unusual for the parking garages to be exempt. I would say, in my experience, that's probably more traditional for the garages to be exempt. I'm not sure if Jeff has different
Okay.
experience with his municipalities, but it certainly is a
Yeah.
typical process.
Even in the municipality where we have big buildings, extremely vertical municipality, yeah?
That's correct. In more urban municipalities,
Correct.
I have seen the garages still be exempt from FAR.
Okay. All right.
But at the end of the day, it needs to work for you. The
Exactly.
regulations need
Yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
accomplish
Right.
what you want them
Mhm.
to.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you.
That was the right answer for me.
Commissioner Joseph, you have a question?
No.
Commissioner Stuyvesant?
The focus group, who's going to be part of that group?
We have a preliminary idea from administration that I believe it was 12 to 14 total size, but there would be mostly residents, and correct me, City Manager, if I'm mistaken, mostly from different HOA boards throughout the city. Some businesses, I want to say 2 or 3 businesses, and probably 2 developers, just to provide their input on the same issues, so we get balanced feedback.
Okay, I want more clarification on that. And also, and I believe this is a question for city manager or the staff, how much is gonna cost this study?
We did provide a scope with various tasks with sub components included with the fees for each of those. I believe the total that we provided to get us through phase 1 and phase 2 was around 114,000. And then following that, we would come through with the land development regulations. And it's hard to scope that because we don't know where this process is going to take us. It could be minimal effort to update the land development regulations, or it could be something that's more of an overhaul.
Okay. And you mentioned that there is gonna be a phase 3. Can you give us a little detail about that?
Phase 3 is what Caitlin was just talking about. So once we've made the corrections to the comprehensive plan that are not dependent on the actual visioning process, once we have established that vision, articulated it, you've approved it, then it's time to go back and amend the land development regulations, the town center zoning district, the zoning districts that regulate the businesses on the west side of Collins, to make sure that it's implementing that vision. And since we don't know what that is at this point, it's hard to say the extent of revisions that might be required, but that would be the ultimate phase.
Thank you.
Commissioner Joseph, you had a question?
Yes, I just have a question regarding your intake procedure. So what you're saying, the group that you would be having input from, those would end up being suggestions to the commission?
Correct. The purpose is for us to do all the hard work for you, to get out there, get as much feedback as we can from the community and representative, diverse feedback, and then work through issues and develop it to the point where there are fine-grained recommendations, like higher level ones as far as this height, this FAR, but also finer grained things as to what you might experience walking down the street and open space and other types of things. Architecture, could be any number of things. But to have an overall recommendation at these various levels for you to consider, and essentially us facilitating the community and this representative stakeholder focus group, and sort of synthesizing it and presenting it to you for you to consider at that point and provide further direction.
Right. So I would imagine at some point you're going to have some way that you're thinking of to not have your focus group skewed in any way.
Correct. Yes, the composition of the focus group is critical. And through discussions with administration, I think we're on the right track.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Just to add on to that point, in addition to the focus groups, each and every resident, business owner, interested party is able to take the public survey as well. So even if they aren't directly a part of the focus group or represented by a member on the focus group, there will be the public survey. There will be open comment forums on the project website that people can provide feedback throughout the process, and we'll receive those in the form of an email. If someone has an idea at 2 a.m., they can get on the website and add that in there, and we'll get that feedback the next morning, not at 2 a.m.
We had a, I just want to say we had a parks redevelopment plan that we had input the same situation, and it didn't work out so well. So hopefully you'll have a better idea to have community input.
Commissioner Stephenson, you had a follow-up question?
Yeah, and it's about the same thing, the same topic about the focus groups. Whenever they're going to meet, my suggestion will be to make it known to everybody and to be open to the public. So whoever wants to participate should have the opportunity to be there. And, okay.
100% agree. That's very important. These meetings will be held at a time when people can attend. So they may very well be evening meetings. To facilitate that, we're going to update the community on the website and through other means available to advise of when the next meeting is, the topics, the agenda, and we'll make available any backup materials we have that are going to be presented to the group on the website.
And I would like to propose a few people to be part of the group. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We are past 4 o'clock. Do I have consensus to go another half an hour so we could finish the agenda that we have? Yes? Yes? Yes. Okay. Thank you. Next item.
Next item is 3C, a discussion regarding the labeling of lifeguard stands by Commissioner Vizcarra.
So this is pretty self-explanatory. When you are in your balconies, if you live on the beach and you're on your balconies, you look down and you see the lifeguard stands. But if you were to witness something or want to report something, if you have the number of the lifeguard stand on the roof, it gives you a better point of reference. I think this is also important for tourists because they really don't have an idea about. If you're a resident, you may say, well, I'm near whatever. But if you're a tourist, you may not have that point of reference. So it's pretty basic.
Yeah, I agree. It's a very good idea.
Absolutely makes sense.
Mr. City Manager, do you need us to give any sort of direction on this? I think you were planning to do this already.
We are. We had planned on placing the numbers on the stands, and then it was determined that some of the roofs need to be replaced.
Mm-hmm.
So we're in the process of going through the procurement to do the roofs, but we're including having signs on, or the numbers on all of the stands. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Vizcarra.
Thank you. Good
Next
idea.
item.
Yes.
Next item is 3D, updating or an update on the implementation of the revised Newport Pier fees. Commissioner Stuyvesant.
Yeah, I wanted to have an update on the fees. I was there 2 weeks ago, and the new fees were not being implemented just yet. So I want to know where we are with the implementation of the fees.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commission, you are correct. They had not, because they didn't have the signage yet. So they now have the signage. As of this past weekend, they're charging the new rates. I believe the city manager put out a memo. The only thing, and Alan can explain it further if need be, we need them to agree to the new rates. So they agreed to $10 for fishing for non-residents and free for residents. They did not agree to charging the non-residents to just walk on the pier. So they are trying out the $10 for fishing, and they will give us some feedback, but it'll now be 1 week by this weekend.
Okay, that was it. All right, thank you. We're adjourned.
No, we
there's
have
a
the
couple
two
more
additional items. 3E is a discussion regarding the 72-hour vessel anchoring limit in Dunfermline Bay.
Oh, because I don't have it on here, that's why. Thank you. I have paper, so yes, thank you.
That was my issue.
Okay, this is Commissioner Joseph, please go ahead.
Yes, okay. So in discussions with the city attorney, it turns out that we don't have the right to have an ordinance regarding these issues, as you can see by the pictures that I passed out. We have people anchoring out. You can see gas containers that they use to refill their fuel. Actually, it turns out, and you can see that they're actually refueling with their gas containers. It turns out that, and I spoke with our representative, Fabian Basabi, today, and there is a FWC has a bill 487, and the House has a bill 437 regarding anchoring out and refueling, that would make it illegal to refuel through gas containers. And in exchange for this discussion, I would like to have those two bills supported by a resolution, and also to ask that Ron Book, our lobbyist, support those bills in Tallahassee.
Do we have those bills? We have copies of those bills?
Yes, my apologies. I have some here.
Yeah, we just pulled them up this afternoon. I haven't had a chance to read them, so I don't know specific. I can't talk about the content.
They absolutely take into account
Mr. City Manager?
exactly what I was proposing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, I spoke with City Attorney. We had just received the information this afternoon from Commissioner Joseph, so we've not had time yet to review it.
Okay, all right. So given that, I don't really think we're in a position to, I certainly am not in a position to support or not support this. But it's up to the rest of the commission. Vice Mayor?
I don't know. I'll have to take a look at this. I mean, do we have time to support this in our commission meeting? When is this going up to committee, or
it needs the support now? It's
like today?
Yes, it's.
We cannot wait for next
No,
month.
it's currently in discussion.
Next month is February. Yeah, sessions are still happening. Okay.
Yes. So I spoke with Fabian. He asked if it's possible if we could have a resolution to support these bills tonight.
I don't think we can possibly have a resolution completed in
Yeah.
2 hours.
I was.
And just a cursory look, and again, I don't know, I haven't read them all, but the changes in HB 437, because Florida statutes already identifies certain anchoring restriction locations, and they're eliminating 3 of them and doing a more broad, that they are within 200 yards of any part of the shore of the city of Miami Beach, lying between State Road A1A and State Road 112. Previously, they had them listed as River Alto Island and Delito Island, San Marino Island and San Marco Island, and San Marco Island and Biscayne Island. But I do not see, at least in HB 437, addressing what we are talking about. The other one's 15 pages long, so I have to.
Okay, so I don't think that we can have something ready in 2 hours, less than 2 hours. And if we're able to, considering the session is still going to be going in February, we can decide in February if we want to support it. But certainly we could do that separately. We don't have to support it as a body. You can easily support it by sending a letter of support, or we can do that individually if we wanted to.
Okay, well, I will certainly do that then myself.
Okay. All right, thank you.
The last item on the agenda is a discussion regarding car carriers, prohibiting car carriers from parking in residential areas.
Yes, so we've had car carriers taking advantage of Golden Shores many times. I've chased them out. Some are belligerent and don't move. We've had code enforcement come down. I would like to have an ordinance stating that these car carriers have to do their drop-offs and pickups underneath the causeway and increase the fines to $500.
Yeah, I have. Can you just clarify what is currently in place and what is possible or isn't possible?
Okay, so for parking issues and violations, the fees are set by the county. So right now, and since you have expressed this concern to me before, we have done increased parking enforcement in Golden Shores. So right now, currently, they can receive one of two parking citations. One is $36, but the other, and this is the one that we've been using, is $124 for obstructing traffic. So I've instructed the parking enforcement to do an increased patrol. In terms of increasing the amount, that would be subject to the county. So we would not be able to alter the violations for that. I haven't had a chance yet to discuss with the city attorney if there's any other alternate ways of enforcement.
Well, anything that we do would not just be for the car carriers. It would have to, the same fines and the same sort of penalties would then translate to any car that would be parked, correct?
Generally, that would be correct. You couldn't just, so if it's obstruction of traffic to the extent we'd have any sort of ability to increase the fines, it wouldn't be just for one type of vehicle. It would be for any vehicle that's obstructing traffic. So you're correct in that regard.
Okay.
So let me ask you a question, Commissioner Joseph. When you see them, how long do, because I live there too, so I do see them as well. How long are they typically? Is there enough time to call code?
Well, oh yeah, I've called code. Code doesn't come right down. I've made some of them move myself just by standing there and telling them, you can't be here, and just being obstinate, and they move and they go around the block. I don't know where they end up going, but they're always delivering and either picking up or delivering cars for the East Side high rises.
Have we, Mr. City Manager, have we spoken to any of these companies? Sometimes it's best just to speak to them and remind them that this is not something that we appreciate in a residential neighborhood, especially during times of when kids are walking around. Do we have a list of those companies? Have we been able to identify them with the fines, or do the fines go to the driver?
The fines go to the company, and I fear that this is also just part of doing business for them. There's a number of different companies that we deal with. Some of them will leave, drop it off in another area, and then bring it in. But it's definitely an issue that we're trying to deal with.
So can we have something that states that they have to do these deliveries underneath the causeway?
I don't think
we would have to look at that. I'm not sure. That there's a variety of things that the county may regulate that we can't override, or the state. So we'd have to take a look at that.
We'll have to look into it further and then get back with you.
Okay, so let's look into it. So I believe it's a need that has to be dealt with.
Or in hollovers. They can do it in hollover as well.
Or hollow.
Yeah, because they are all the time in front of, at the south of Sonny Isles Beach in Collins as well.
I recall, don't we have like designated places where they could, I recall having a conversation already, and I don't know if that came to fruition or not, but we did have a conversation about designating a couple of spots where they could drop off those cars and people have to go pick them up there. So I think if we could probably, have some regulation as far as that, have some sort of structure where they could go and perhaps, identify some spots where they like to park, where they're not supposed to park, and put signs saying, you're not allowed to drop off cars here, you're going to get fined. So I'm sure there's some favorite spots
I think
that
there's
they
consensus.
like to use.
There's
yeah.
consensus for you all to just look into this and see what is possible, if anything. But certainly, I think that we all agree that if there's could be heightened enforcement, which you already started doing, that's good.
Yeah, and several times they've parked on Atlantic.
Everywhere.
Yeah, and it's just they don't care for the the child danger or the vehicle danger.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right. So with that, we're adjourned. Thank you. See you all at 6:30.